Hello, HMS Bobcats. Welcome back to another week. The Helena Middle School on this week's Bob lesson. Talking about the power of the bystander. These were videos that I found last year on an anti-bullying movement. I want to bring to everybody's attention today the importance of knowing right from wrong, and when you see wrong, speaking on it. Our culture, our society, our school is only going to be as strong as each individual people who are socially policing things themselves. If you stand up to something that is not right when it's directed at somebody else, that is something that adds to the positive culture of our society. So on that note, I'm going to let this rock and roll. Hope you guys go out, make it a great week, and I hope we all find the strength to stand up against things that are wrong. Make it a great week. One other final note real quick. Thank you for all of you guys that went in, guys and gals that went in and voted on Topic Tuesday. Thank you for the feedback. Again, that's on the HMS page. You go to About, you go Counseling Staff, go to Mr. Flato, vote Topic Tuesday. We are preliminarily, hopefully, planning that for next Tuesday during Advisor. Stay tuned to next week's Bob lesson for more information. Thank you. All right, so let's start by talking about what is a bystander. For some of you, you've probably never heard that term bystander before. A bystander is someone who is in the same physical environment and is witness to disrespectful behavior from one party targeted at another. A socially responsible bystander, which is what we're really pushing for everyone to be, is someone who recognizes when something is wrong and acts to make it right. When we stand up for what is right, and do our best to help support and protect someone else who's being disrespected, we are being socially responsible bystanders. As a bystander, you are either part of the solution or you are part of the problem. That is, when you stand by and witness disrespectful behavior without interjecting, your actions are implicitly condoning the behavior. Even though you don't come out and say that is okay, or you don't take part in it, by doing nothing, your behaviors imply that is the norm, or that is socially okay to do. When you interject yourself into this situation and respectfully advocate for the person being disrespected, you are acting as a socially responsible bystander. Why bystanders' response is so important, and I want to talk about this because you folks as bystanders in our school hold way more power than us adults do, in my opinion. You guys look out for one another. You guys are held accountable by one another. You guys are peers and classmates to one another, and you guys hold so much power. Most disrespectful behavior takes place in front of peers. It almost never happens when adults are there watching. Most bystanders want to do something to stop the disrespectful behavior. People who act disrespectfully often like an audience to do it in front of. If the audience shows disapproval, the disrespectful behaviors are discouraged from continuing. Socially responsible bystanders help create a culture of zero tolerance for disrespect, empathy, I talked about that empathy word last Bob lesson, support, and a sense of connectedness at the school where we are all connected to one another. So I have a little diagram here I drew up, and if you look on the left, you'll remember I don't like to use that term bullying. I like to use the term disrespectful behavior. So whoever is exhibiting that disrespectful behavior, and you can see the top arrow, it's pointed at the victim. Now the bystander, being in the same environment, has a decision to make. They're kind of in the middle. Am I going to do nothing and implicitly join forces with the person that is exhibiting the disrespectful behavior, or am I going to stand by the victim and advocate for the victim? So in the first scenario, if you do nothing, or if you laugh, or if you giggle, or you enjoy the showing of disrespectful behavior, what you're really doing is you're kind of joining forces with the person that is being disrespectful. And to the victim, that might mean that they feel like they're getting teamed up on. What we would really like for you to do is be a good bystander. We're going to talk about this in a moment. Be a good bystander, show support to the victim, advocate for the victim, and let the person that's being disrespectful know, hey, you're being disrespectful and that's not very cool right now. Let's try to be more respectful to the person that is being disrespected.
Question that individuals who are, quote, bystanders have more power than they realize.
One person could do a lot. One compliment, a smile.
Say hi.
How's it going?
Cool shoes. Be a friend.
Say you're awesome. You're not going to get laughed at if you say you don't know that person's life. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what their home life is.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Really?
No.
Stop.
That's not cool.
Every time that you speak out is one less person getting bullied every day.
I think you can save someone's life if you do that.
I work in a business where some people are a little bit arrogant, and maybe they're having a bad day, and I've seen this thing kind of happen where you're on a film set and someone seems to be in a really bad mood and they're treating people pretty badly, and generally you can see that they're treating like an extra badly or a stand-in badly or a cameraman badly. No one ever confronts them, and I'm a big confronter. I will generally call a meeting into my trailer with a producer, with either the person who's causing what I think is unnecessary tension and disruption, or being particularly mean. And I will say, look, I come here every day to try to be a part of creating an environment where we all can do our best work. And this behavior isn't going to fly. And what I often find is that it's when you confront someone who is behaving in that kind of bullying fashion that they're really stunned, because normally they can get away with it because everyone's just like, oh, they're in a really bad mood. And what are we going to do? Oh, my God, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You talk to someone. And everyone's sort of whispering and sneaking around instead of walking up to that person and saying, what is your problem? What is your problem? Because your problem is becoming our problem. And in fact, we were having a really good time until you entered the scene and created an environment that was unpleasant, disruptive, and unnecessary. And you know what? It's not going to make anyone work any faster or any better. The ways in which you get people to work faster and better is to treat them as equals and to treat them as people who care about their work and you care about your work. And, it's only when people come together that you can accomplish something.
Hey, if you're on the sidelines and you see another human being hurt, physically, emotionally, do something. Even if it's as simple as being their friend, reaching out, smiling, inviting them to sit with you at lunchtime, giving them a support system so they don't feel so alone, so they can build up their confidence a little bit and feel more accepted and feel a little bit safer in the world. I'm not asking for somebody to step in and start slugging away at a bad guy. That's obviously not the way to handle the situation. But to be a good person and to extend a helping hand, to smile, to make eye contact, to be inviting, to be kind, can make all the difference.
There's tons of things you can do. The first would be to get involved in a polite and friendly manner, in a peaceful manner, and stick up for that person. Say something. Because it is kind of, especially when someone's saying something to you, when you're ganged up on, you feel alone, you feel scared, and you feel helpless and weak. So support system, showing your support for someone else and feeling supported by people is one of the first steps and the biggest steps towards destroying and demolishing bullying altogether. And so that's why I think whether you know someone or not, it's incredibly important to know whether you would like something being said or done to you in the same kind of manner. And if you see that and it's not something you like, then get involved and get in there and help them.
All right, this week's quote of the week comes from none other than the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, and I quote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And I love this quote so much, and I think it ties in perfectly with being a great bystander, because essentially what he's saying is injustice or disrespectful behavior anywhere, letting that be anywhere, is a threat to justice everywhere, is a threat to being disrespected by everyone. If you think about it like a garden, if you allow weeds or unwanted vegetation or weeds growing in your garden, if you let any of those take root in your garden, even if it's in the parts where it's not affecting the carrots or the cucumbers or the corn or whatever it is you're growing, eventually it's going to spread and it's eventually going to take over your garden. It's going to choke out the good stuff that you want growing in your garden. It's going to steal all the nutrients from the corn, the tomatoes, the potatoes, everything you have growing in your garden. So essentially what this quote is saying is that we shouldn't let it happen. We should never condone it. We should never allow disrespectful behavior, because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. All right, let's get to this week's Jelly Bean Question of the Week winners. We have Aline Oakes, Signe Richards, Mason White, Cooper Hollow, Lindy Dalkey, and Teresa Stafford. The correct answer was $400 on the transactions with the cow. All right, this week's Jelly Bean Question of the Week. Pencils are $1 in cost. Notebooks are $2. You spend exactly $30 in school supplies and buy exactly 30 items. How many pencils and notebooks did you buy? If you think you know the answer, submit your answer to the Bob Box. First and last name. Make sure I can read it. Tune in next week to see if you are a winner. All right, Bobcats, let's make a great week at the Helena Middle School.